Welcome to the Power Airwaves, the Air Power Manufacturing Solutions podcast series where we talk about manufacturing issues that impact you. Hey, this is Travis Stirewalt, and welcome to another episode of Power Airwaves. Let's get into it. Today, I've got two special guests with me, as you can see. First one that I want to introduce is Aaron Osborne. Aaron is an account or an application specialist.
Yes, sir.
With Air Power. Tell us what your role is, where and what region you cover.
So, Aaron Osborne, application specialist for our assembly team. So I cover majority of North Carolina, northeastern South Carolina, and then the Tidewater region of Virginia. And so we focus on the assembly team, pretty much the mechanical assembling, bringing two components together through bolting and other fasteners.
All right. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get the name right.
Yes, you are.
So Cleve is easy, right? Cleve is the first name.
Yep.
Pechuekonis is the last name.
Good Lithuanian.
How are you doing, Cleve?
Yes,
Lithuanian, right?
That Lithuanian,
all right.
You got it.
All right, so are you like first, second,
First generation.
First generation.
You got it, yep.
That's fantastic.
And no, I do not speak Lithuanian.
No. I was even going to say, is it actually called Lithuanian, or is it what's the dialect? What's the language?
Good question. I don't know.
Yeah. He's very first generation.
Yes.
All right, so we are going to get into, let's talk about your role with Ingersoll Rand.
Yep.
What is that role? What do you...
So I'll give my sword history a little bit.
Okay.
Started in the industrial business about 30 years ago. I was in the Navy, left the Navy, went to go work for some cordless company. I don't know who they were, Yellow Tools or whatever. Back in the early 90s when cordless was first starting out in the market. So really fun time to start in the industrial market as it was starting to shift and change. And as I got older and more wiser, I decided to join Ingersoll Rand to prosper my career and do better and have a lot of fun with this organization. So I've been with Ingersoll Rand about 18 years, predominantly out of those 30 years, probably 20 of them been in the field.
Okay. With
customers, with tradesmen, journeymen, just day to day, really working in their world with their applications and trying to make their life better. And that's really the best part of my job. I also spent a few years in marketing. Anybody can do marketing, right? You're in sales. Everybody's going to do marketing, right?
I don't know about that.
Can do marketing.
I don't know about that.
It's like you show up at 10, you go home at 2, and you have a meeting.
Jai, put away your Japanese throwing.
So I did that, enjoyed that. It was fun. And then I shifted into product management because ultimately, I'm a tool guy. I am the tool man. I mean, this is what I like to do. And I went into product management for a few years. I was in our industrial lifting division and so forth, but always been associated with tools. And then after about a few years, I realized something. I miss being in the field. So I shifted back into the field about 7 years ago. I miss working with Aaron. I just like going out, working with Aaron, having fun, because that's where it's all at.
That's right.
Long history in the business. I'm really looking forward to today to share what's been going on in the market, where we're at today, where we're coming, where we came from, and where we're going to. So this is going to be fun. Cool. By the way, it's taken 1.5 years to get me to sit in a chair to do this. So once again, appreciate it.
Hey, that's all right.
And you have the well-renowned Mouth of the South. So
I am not ashamed to beg for people to join me here in the studio. So I didn't realize that I had Cleve, the tool man, Pechuekonis.
Yep.
All right,
Jim Allen has nothing on me. I am the tool man.
All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about Ingersoll Rand. For those that are watching or listening that don't know who Ingersoll Rand is, it's hard to believe, but tell us a little bit about, just give us a snapshot of Ingersoll Rand.
So snapshot, first I'm going to start with, if you are 40 years old or older, you know who we are.
Yeah.
Right? If you're under 40 years old, there's a slight chance you may not recognize who we are. So that's a big part of my job, is to educate our customer base, current and future, about Ingersoll Rand. Ingersoll Rand's been in the tool market, compressor market for over 100 years. It's been the leader in this market for over 100 years.
Okay.
When it comes to pneumatic tools and now cordless tools, we've been really defined as the premier provider of tools, power tools, to whatever industry there is, predominantly heavy industry. construction, metalworking, shipbuilding, you name it, power generation, you name a vertical market, we're in there. I wish I brought some with me today. I have some great old photos of, like when the Empire State Building was being built, there's big old impacts up there. We just go way back. So it's really cool to work for a company. It's got this old history, but we're not old folks, right? We're young still, right? So we're constantly moving and going forward. So really cool stuff. And
so hold on a second. So, I've seen those videos, those historic videos of them, the guys walking the girders and whatever, and then they have the large beams that would come in.
Yep.
And there's different huge, they're substantially large, I guess you would call them impact
wrenches,
drivers.
Yep.
And is that like Ingersoll Rand was early on?
Was early Ingersoll Rand.
Wow.
Up in those beams, 80 stories up, however many feet that is, no safety stuff on, just
right.
Looks how far we've come, But it's really interesting, and you look at the tools, it's from an air tool perspective, pneumatic, you see that tool and you kind of look at the tools we have today, you're like, not a big difference, right? Well, there is a lot of differences, but the technology is the same.
Some of those, and I might be wrong, but I think I'm right about this, my memory of watching these videos, some of those were driven just regular temperature, the bolts were driven in, but some of them were driven in where the bolts were hot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would that have been that world with Ingersoll Rand also?
And so that's going to get a little bit more into large riveters and so forth, which we also still have, and we did have back then. But I do want to walk through this real quick. So imagine, I don't know how tall that is, 100 feet, 120 feet up, I don't know, 80 stories, whatever. You guys are smarter than I am. And you're standing on the beam this wide.
Right.
You got a big old tool. It's got an air hose, right? Somewhere it's tied off somewhere. No safety harness, no nothing. Grabbing a beam, bringing it in, running a pin in to line the holes up, and then going in there and bolting it all together. Pretty incredible, right? So I know that's kind of a little off subject of, but it just goes to show those are the people I like to work with. That's who builds this country. That's who makes us great. And it happens today, every single day. And it's fun to be part of it. And Ingersoll Rand is a key to those industries, and it's fun.
All right, I'm writing myself a note down because I'm going to talk about something in a separate video with you guys. So I'll remember that. Okay, so let's talk about the product spectrum with IR just very briefly as far as the history. Like you talked about some of the early on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how that progressed. Just give us a general snapshot of where we are today with the full product line.
So with Ingersoll Rand, we are, like many large companies, have various different divisions and so forth. So I will touch base just real quick. We do have a compressor division. We compress air, push air out to run air motors, basically a motor that runs a tool or a product, hoist, whatever it may be. Secondary to that, well, not secondary, in conjunction to that, is then our fluid business, diaphragm pumps and so forth. And then we also have, where I live, the best part of Ingersoll Rand, the power tool division. Yeah. Within the power tool division, you have our tools, you have lifting devices, and we also have, they all tie in together. So within there, we have assembly tools. So you're like, assembly tools, industrial tools, what's the difference? Assembly tools are what the name says. We take two things, we join them together, usually with some sort of fastener or bolt, and in the assembly world, it is a little bit more technical. It is, we're tightening this bolt at a specific torque, we're telling the operator or the system that we did it correctly, or, more importantly, incorrectly. So that way, that can be stopped, go back, refasten it correctly. In my world, I'm the industrial tool guy. I always like to say this, anybody can put a bolt on. I get them off. So my tools, yes, we bolt also, we do assemble big nasty bolts and all this type of stuff, and we put stuff together, but we also have the ability to get those nasty bolts off that have been on a ship or a, whatever it may be, a building that we're taking apart, whatever it may be. We can take apart these bolts that have been on there for years and rusted and corroded and dinged, and we'll get it off.
Yep.
So that's where we're at. Technology-wise, air, forever, right? We talked about the Empire State Building 100 years ago, whatever it was, that's, and then roughly early 90s, the big shift. And going into whatever this stuff is, I don't know what it does. Some sort of battery or something. Amazing where the technology, how fast it's changing. And I think we'll talk about it a little bit more later on. But that's where we're shifting quickly, and not we. What dictates the shift is technology, and my favorite part, the person that's using the product.
That's
how do I make him or her life easier, better, faster, more efficient?
And a lot of that comes into play with the environmental health and safety that's watching out for things, noise or vibrations, things like that. All right, so let's talk about from your perspective. First of all, Aaron, what's your, we talked about it a little bit, but what's your basic responsibility within Air Power?
So as a specialist, we are in charge of supporting our account managers who are out there in the field, the day-to-day guys, right? They're the road warriors that are helping these accounts, going to different facilities and identifying problems and struggles that customers are having, right?
And you were one.
I was.
So you know that side of the. I traveled with you when you were an account manager.
Absolutely. So and it wasn't too long ago, right?
No.
So I still have that account manager mentality, and so as a specialist, we go in there and we help the day-to-day guys. And again, they may find a struggle with the customer that they can't resolve on their own, right? Whether it be like, hey, we're not fastening this to appropriately, or just the ergonomics of the application, right? So we'll come in there and use our tenured or experience, right, to kind of better assist and provide a solution for the customer.
Perfect.
Right? And the tie-in on that, Aaron and I have worked together for a while. I don't know, Air Power's got 3-4 account managers. I'm not sure. Maybe 5. I'm being very facetious.
Yes,
I believe
30.
It's a lot.
Yes.
So Aaron supports those folks, and I work with Aaron to ensure that he has the latest and greatest information on Ingersoll Rand products.
Right.
But when Eric wants a free lunch, or Aaron wants a free lunch, he calls me and says, hey, let's go work together. But in all seriousness, it may be an application that takes a little bit more background, or maybe just a little bit more, hey, can we do this? What would be the best product for this?
Right.
And always hands-on is the best way.
Absolutely.
And it's always good to have, Ingersoll Rand shirt out there.
Yep. So we talked a little bit about industrial tools. We talked about, kind of what's considered industrial, but let's dive into that. So what would be the difference between like an industrial tool and an assembled tool?
I think Cleve kind of hit the nail on the head, right? So your industrial tool is going to be less focused on putting things together and trying to find that precise torque, right, and make sure that we're doing it correctly. But it's the unbolting, it's the surface prep, it's kind of everything that's not quite as precise, but requires some rough and tough, a little bit more, extra oomph from it, right? The unbolting and the surface prep and the grinding and all that stuff, right?
And which is always in conjunction. They're typically almost always together. When Aaron and I mostly worked together in the past, it was with assembly type product, precision fastening, and so forth. And we'll admit sometimes we put the blinders on a little bit and focus on that, sometimes not realizing all this other stuff out there other applications or other, and it's really kind of fun. When I shifted back to this business a couple of years ago into industrial, it even helped open my eyes up again that we're missing a lot. There's a lot of help we can give to the user of the product, once again, to make their life easier. You touched upon EHS, environmental health and safety. Very interesting change in the markets to where it's kind of a European thing, right? It's got soft grips on it, it's less vibration, it's quieter, it just feels better in the hand, it's good contoured and so forth.
Less trigger impact.
It's just, and you know what? Big U.S. steel worker, I put that product in his hand or her hand, and they're like, I want to use this one. I like this.
Exactly.
Because 6 hours a day grinding or impacting or whatever you're doing, So it's really interesting now to watch the morphing of this, really kind of coming back to the full holistic for a customer. We're not just coming in and looking at this.
Yep.
We're coming in with our eyes wide open, and how can we help?
So just a little backstory here on kind of where you're coming there. I was just having a meeting yesterday with one of my vendors in the finishing world, in the filter world, and they, in their manufacturing, they have tools of all kinds they have to deal with, but they're different than your set of tools. But we were having a conversation yesterday, and I had to physically cut with scissors a lot of media at an account recently, where we were trying to get through a challenge that we were having there and trying to get things sized right. And so when I was meeting with them yesterday, we were talking about how my fingers were just hurting after cutting and cutting and cutting. Yeah, hand cutting with scissors. And I had a brand new pair of super sharp, like fabric scissors. And so it cut through the media very well. But after a while, you can feel it dulling. You can feel it getting gummed up from the filter media and whatnot. And they were saying that, for years and years and years in their manufacturing process, when they made certain types of filters, their employees would have to cut these little patches of cuts through the media by hand, and they would be doing it. And that it wasn't until they had a situation where the owner and the owner's family, they got on the floor and started cutting, that they realized the impact of that stress on their employees. The actual hand stress of cutting and cutting and cutting. And so when the owners were actually shown this, like when they actually experienced it, it took one day, and they went out and bought an $800 electric tool, electric shears to take care of the problem. And I thought that was a great story that segued into this world right here, which how many people are doing things every day that have been doing it that way for a very long time, and either they don't know about a solution, or the ownership or the senior management has not gotten to a point where they even understand the impact. So these show and tells, these, when you said the steel worker, you just put it in his hand and they're like, whoa, I want this one. Some of those impacts, they always, I've heard people say happy wife, happy life.
That's right.
Happy employee, better production, potentially. There's a lot of impact here. So,
and it's interesting. The market has shifted to where it's now more accepted and it's now expected. Right? Yeah. I've been doing this 15 years ago. Less vibration, less sound was like. Now it's like this is what we need for our employees, our associates. It's what I want to use, right? Yeah. And that's a big part of Aaron and I's job is to kind of funny. You nailed something. Is our job is to look for that somebody that's doing this, knowing in our mind, wait a minute, I got something I can show you that I think is going to be a little bit easier.
That's right.
Is there a little bit of cost associated with it? Absolutely. But the medium to long term return is significant. So you may pay $800 up front instead of a $25 scissor. But in the long run, your associates aren't having carpal tunnel issues and just they're happier, more productive. So it's more than just product. It's really, you'll hear me say this time and time again, it's application. How do we make it better, more efficient? How do we help?
Well, to that point too, though, there's a lot of applications where these more ergonomic type solutions come into play and they're great fits. But we also try to be the guys that kind of vet that out during the assessment process, right? And not every time like it's required, right? Yep. Especially if you're looking for such a low use tool, we're looking to make sure that the customer's happy and that the operator looks at us and is excited to see us when we roll in the door. We're the solution guys. We're the guys that are making their life easier. Sometimes you try to put something in place and you maybe try to force it and it maybe doesn't fit, right? And we try to steer clear of doing that. And so again, we look for the positive reaction from the operators just as much as it is from the MEs or the maintenance guys, right? Yep. And if they're sitting over there ducking their heads like, oh, these guys may try to ruin my day with something else, then maybe we're not doing our job properly, right? Yep. So
I can't help real quick to jump around real quick because this is really interesting from hopefully people that listen or watch this. I got this product out in front of us, great product. We'll maybe have time to talk about it a little bit, but where was this born? How does this happen? How it happens a lot of times is Aaron and I are out in the field and see something, and either we see it together or Aaron reaches out to me and say, hey, is there something we have for this? And I'll be like, well, no. And I'll search around and nobody else does. And here we are taking a picture of the application now. We send it up into engineering and say, hey, this is an unmet need. or requirement. And of course, commercially, we have to vet it out to make sure that it's more than maybe just one application, but maybe across wherever the globe. And that's how NPD, new product development, that's where it starts from, is us in the field, the eyes and ears, seeing the opportunity. It's not derived out of a cubicle in some office somewhere. Yes, some great ideas come out of there, don't get me wrong, but a majority of them are born in the field, such as this product. You know, it's like, can we do that?
Run us down that rabbit hole.
I keep talking.
So
about
we have this product here, which is it was actually featured on a video that you guys shot.
Correct.
And like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, that was shot on a farm.
Yes.
Right. And taking bolts off of an old tractor or something. I remember the video because I was quite impressed. What's it called? The Terminator?
So it's called the Terminator. That's our internal name for it.
The Terminator.
However, I'm more than happy to share it. So
Please do. Let's talk about it. So this was obviously there's obviously a scenario where something like this was needed in the market. Some people watching still don't really know what it is. So let's run down the rabbit hole here.
So we'll kind of a quick synopsis on it is currently big air impacts, roughly about the same size as 1 inch, creating X amount of torque to take a bolt off or put a bolt on, which is great. Great tools, very repetitive. Air tools are awesome in the respect that highly, highly durable. The more you run them, the cooler they run. Air's running through them, I think it cools us down a bit, right?
Yeah.
And electric is, the technology's coming along very, very, very quickly, where now you can generate similar or more power and still have very close to those durability limits or abilities. So on this one, we decided to take a current product, kind of look around the size, see if we can get it to be able to run off of cordless, generating 3,000 foot-pounds of torque. And really interesting, the story you spoke of in the agriculture, and please forgive me, I was not raised on a farm, but I was asked to come out, and I always say this, give me your nastiest application. Take me to the nastiest thing you have, nastiest bolt you have. Let me see if I can get it off with this tool. It's called a slicer, I believe is the name of it. It goes and slices the fields. I don't know. But that end bolt gets all mucked up and tore up and dinged and rusted, and it's a big issue for them. They can't get that bolt off. They have cheater bars like
Is it the discs?
Yeah, they look like a big disc, I don't know, whatever. They kind of slice through and do their thing and churn everything up, I guess.
Turn to dirt.
But those bolts are just impossible. And they try to use air impacts, and they're having difficulties with it. They use big cheater bars. They're like standing on them, 2 or 3 guys trying to bust it loose. Went out there with this tool. So this is our Terminator 1 inch cordless impact. Runs off of 220 volt batteries. Does have some torque controllability. Sorry for the sales pitch here, but
no worries.
3,000 foot pounds. So when you hear me talk about foot pounds,
3,000 foot pounds.
3,000 foot pounds in reverse. 2,600 foot pounds in forward. What? Why would you do that? That makes no sense to me. Wait a minute. So I can put the bolt on, and it has even more torque in reverse, just in case later on I got to take it off. So I don't want to have more power in forward than reverse. So it's a reversed bias tool. So very technical talk there. More power in reverse. 3,000 foot pound. This one you can see has a 9 inch anvil on it, or 6 inch anvil, sorry. So it's designed to get into areas that's a little bit more tight constraint. If you notice, it's an inline tool, very thin, be able to fit into tight areas. We don't have the batteries all stacked up in the bottom down here. Rail car guys, they try to take the bolts off where the rails are coming in. And if the tool's cocked like this, you can't really get to the bolt. And now the rail car guys are like, that's useless. This tool does not do that. It can go flat in, be able to, because the batteries are where?
Yep.
Where are they? They're on the side of the tool. They're not all stacked up in the bottom, which is just ridiculous. So with all that being said, it takes a lot of power. If you take a look at the motor, it's huge. So it's taking 2 20-volt batteries to run this. We mounted them on the side, so they're pretty much out of the way, and tremendous amount of power. Weight is about the same as a pneumatic tool. That would have similar characteristics. But what is it missing? What does it not have that the air tool has?
Where's that airline? Right?
What? Yep. I can go wherever I want.
Yeah.
I don't have to drag a 3/4 inch rubber 1 inch hose all over the place with big Chicago style fittings and all this and that. By the way, Ingersoll Rand sells a lot of pneumatic tools. I'm not dissing on those tools. They're great tools for their jobs. They're highly durable. They're repeatable. Really all kind of good stuff. But this tool cuts the cord. Old terminology, right? But it's got the power. and the weight is about the same. It's got controllability. So right now we can cut this off if we want. We can pull the trigger. It's going to shut off at around, I believe it's 150 foot-pounds. The next one, it's going to shut off at right around 400 foot-pounds. Now, be very careful. Around 400 foot-pounds. This is not a plus or minus 3%.
Right.
No, it's probably plus or minus 20, maybe a little bit more. 400 foot-pounds was intentional. Lug nuts on truck tires. Roughly 450 foot-pounds final torque. We drive it in, shuts off at 400, and I hope in all these trucking industries, they're doing a final click wrench on it to get that last 50 foot-pounds to ensure they're torqued properly. And then where is it always? Where do they always use the tool? Full power. That's most of the time where the tool is being used. But we do give them the ability to control what they are trying to do. But most importantly is we get that stuff off. We get the bolt off.
Correct.
So when you got somebody out there, time constraints, they got to get the job done, this tool gets the job done. By the way, in case you forgot, the most powerful cordless impact wrench on the market, period. End of story. So if you're looking at a cordless impact wrench and you're not looking at this tool, just my opinion, you're foolish.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
I
by the
could
way,
not have said that better.
that's where the technology's going. This is an example of where it's a little bit of a niche market, but lots more to come. I didn't bring it today. We got lots of other cordless stuff, cordless grinder, all this type of stuff. This is where it started, by the way. This is, we still make this tool, maybe not with all the cool stuff on it, but air tool. Pull the trigger, does its job, 300, 400, 500 foot-pound, whatever it may be, and it's fine. Perfect. There's still thousands and thousands and thousands every week are being sold. Fantastic tool. But if you need to get that bolt off, if you're a shipbuilder and that ship came in and you need to disassemble that thing and work on it, this is the tool you want.
So I have an interesting note about this impact.
Yeah.
That when I started going down this rabbit hole to do podcasts for Air Power, and I was involved in the marketing team, we were given an office in one of our other buildings that was the original sales office for Air Power. And then right next door to that was Bill Ball, our owner and president, who we lost a few years back. And his office had everything that, we all have stuff that just collects, right? But there was obviously some things there that were important to him. And one of them was that gun. And we had that one and a gold one and several, special paint guns that were all there, that were all in his office, that when he passed away, they were still there. And so we asked Dan and others here that had been around for a while, asked them about utilizing those. So we utilize those here in the studio, the Air Power Live Studios. Built stands for them because they're special to us.
Yes.
So it's history, right?
It is. That's history of Ingersoll Rand and the history with Air Power. I left one part out of my story. I apologize. Aaron, that nasty old bolt, did we get it off?
It broke free, yes, sir.
We got it off. And what did that guy do? So remember, when I do demos, when I'm out with the end user, when I'm out with a customer, I don't go in there with the tool and do it. I'm a small guy, man. I'm not a big guy. I let them do it, right? So he, I will admit, it may have taken more than 2 or 3 seconds. It maybe took about 10 seconds to slowly start getting that thing popped up. And that guy looked up at me and he's like, he's holding this thing, he's like, and I won't say what he said. But I will tell you this, he had some other cordless impact or something. And he said, I'll give you mine if you give me that one. I did because I'm a nice guy, right? By the way, I won't do that for anybody else. You need to buy yours. But we did do that for him, allowing us to go out there and work with them.
Right.
But it was super cool, and I did want to wrap up that story. We got that bolt off. Really cool. Very, very well received. Big seller for Ingersoll Rand and Air Power and most of our distributors. It's just been a very, very, very popular tool, and we're continuing in that vein, and we're focusing on bolting. We're focusing on surface prep, or what we metalworking type guys, grinders, more impacts for them, more different type of grinders. It's really, I've seen the roadmap. Super cool.
I can't imagine the impact that would have
no funds, right?
on like a shipbuilding yard. You know, or places like that redo boats for the Coast Guard or whatever. I mean, it'd be a huge
rail cars, right?
Huge
nuclear facilities, right? Because I mean, you gotta have. I mean, to break these loose, you gotta have a compressor somewhere close by, running on the back of a truck or something like that.
Yep.
And you have to have it pretty much running constantly, because if you're using it periodically, right?
Yep.
You're gonna sit there and wait for it to build up, so you have to sit there and run it, and there's just huge costs to that, right? And then you gotta find the 3/4 inch airline as well that you're running to it, right? I mean,
and what's interesting, we work with different customers within the customer, right? We work with procurement all the way down to the person that's utilizing the product. And what's really interesting, a lot of times you go in there like, we have great air and we do this and we do that. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Do you mind if I just bring it out? And we just kind of show it a little bit. We take a bolt off or something like that. And whose hands do I put it in? The person that uses it, and they use it. And usually about 1 to 2 weeks later, we get that phone call. How much was that? Yeah. Because once again, going back to your point earlier, this not necessarily environmental health and safety, but it does take the cord off. It's a tripping hazard, all those type of things. You don't have to worry about that. Power, the hoses and so forth. So, but it's just pure portability. The person that uses this product loves it, and then it forces that uphill to, hey, this is what we need. This is what our people should be using. Does this 100% replace air? No, but pretty darn close to it.
Yep. All right, so as we wind down here, I want to talk about, we know that Air Power is known for their service department.
Yes.
For, working on multiple, levels of products, but in multiple industries. But in the tool world, we have, I guess you could look at it, there's throwaway tools and there's industrial tools. There's tools that are literally throwaway, and there's stuff that literally you could service just like you would a car or something else. There's maintenance that has to be done. So what's the relationship between Air Power and our service department and Ingersoll Rand?
So we are considered to be a premium licensed warranty and service center.
So I'm assuming that's like top tier?
We're up there with the best of them, right? So and then also we're all factory trained. So all our guys back there in the back, factory trained. So we're trained by the professionals to be the professionals, right? So and that goes across all the different platforms, from the impacts, the grinders, the sanders, all the more commonly known products, to also the air motors and some of the construction equipment as well, right? So ours entire platform, right, as far as, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cleve, but there's not a product that you all offer in the power tools division that we are not
that is correct.
Support factor for.
And the key, so that's like the bigger picture, and really the true key is, if Air Power sells it, they service it, which is huge. And I'm glad you brought up service. I cannot tell you, being in this industry as long as I have, service has really kind of dried up a little bit in a respect. It's hard to find technicians. It's hard to, it's not a sexy business and so forth. But it is such a huge value proposition to the customer. The customer, they understand when they purchase something, eventually it's going to require service, whether it's your vehicle, forklifts, tools, right? They require service. And to be able to offer a full menu of service to an account is huge, because the reality is they don't want to do it themselves. Because if they do it themselves, they have to have somebody that has the knowledge. They've got to pay them. They've got all the benefits. They're going to take care of that guy. They've got Vidmar's full of parts, specialized tools, testing equipment. Vidmar's full of parts, all on site. That is a drain on their business. So it's been recognized specifically in the industrial business, in manufacturing, that that's not really a good thing. It's not a value prop for them to do it internally. They prefer to have Aaron or somebody on his team, hey, we just kind of have that flow going back and forth. We recognize we're using these tools 8 hours a day. Within 6 months, they're going to wear down a little bit. They're going to need a little bit of help, a little bit of a tune-up. And that's, to me, truly shows the partnership between Ingersoll Rand, Air Power, and the customer, right? It's not just go putting this in their hand and we walk away and you don't see us again. We want the relationship with Ingersoll Rand, with Air Power, with the customer, to be forever, if possible.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely. So built-in, current customers, it's a little bit more streamlined, but non-existing customers at this time, right?
Yeah.
As we're eager to work with you, maybe having a little bit more formal conversations to kind of get things kick-started. Yeah. And how our service department works is, we'll provide you with a free service estimate, right? At the time of the arrival. of the product, assess
whether it's
repair
economically viable.
Yeah, or viable. There you go, to repair that part
Yep.
and quote you either a new one or at least provide you with the price tag for it, right?
And let's look at it this way: a lot of it, economically viable, can mean different things.
Yeah.
Is it a little bit more than you wish to invest in that tool, or is it so close to let's buy a new one because it's not very much difference in price?
Right.
Well, typically
Exactly.
50% is
yes.
when we'll give both options, right?
And at that point, how badly do they need a backup at the facility? Is it worth just investing a little, that to get a backup? So there's a lot of things to consider.
I'm sitting here, we're talking about service, and I do want to share a little bit of the culture of Ingersoll Rand also. They're not buzzwords. They really are our culture. And there's a couple of things that we say, some old sayings: lean on me, lean on us. We're here to help you, whether service, helping you do your job better. And another one is, and I do like this, let us help you make your life better. Whether that's from your facility or down to just a person that's taking a bolt off all day long. And if I look at Air Power, the culture it's the same. You may not use the same vernacular as we do. You may not use the same buzzwords, but the culture is the same. Lean on us. Let us help you do your job better. Let us help take care of your business. You make what you make. Let us help you do it better. And that's what makes it fun when we work together. That's why I'm back in the field. It's fun. It is fun. Is every day fun? Maybe not. But most of the time, it's a lot of fun.
All right, I think we're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
We've had a great podcast. Great getting to know you guys a little bit better.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to do a rundown really quick. Again, 1-800-334-1001 if you've had any questions about today. If you want to reach out to Aaron, you can call on that number and ask for Aaron. If you want to talk to Cleve, call that number and ask for Cleve, and they'll go, who?
Who? That Lithuanian guy. Oh, him, the mouth of the South.
But literally, you could put Aaron or anyone, ask for anybody in the assembled division of Air Power. Be glad to help you. Let's be honest, even our first line of call in when you get to, customer service in the branches, they know what they're doing. They are very knowledgeable in the product line, so they may be able to help you. But so 1-800-334-1001, and remember the main website, airpower-usa.com. That's where you'll find everything. So I am going to thank my friends here.
Thank you.
Cleve,
it's been fun.
Thank you so much for joining us, man.
It was great.
Aaron, as always,
yes, sir.
Good working with you. By the way, did you ever take him to that restaurant that you took me to? The little walk-up shack?
No. So we haven't been down in that neck of the woods.
What was that place called?
Pauline's.
Pauline's is in where?
St. Paul's, North Carolina.
St. Paul's, North Carolina. If you're anywhere near St. Paul's,
I've been
North
everywhere.
Carolina,
I've never heard of St. Paul's.
You go to Pauline's.
Blinked.
Trust me.
Yeah.
And you owe me next lunch.
No, fair enough.
I'm going to close out this podcast with saying what I always say: manufacture it a great day.
Thank you for joining the Air Power Airwaves podcast. Air Power Airwaves is a production of Air Power Inc. and Air Power Live Studios and is hosted by Travis Stirewalt. For more information, please visit airpowerairwaves.com. For more information on all of our products, brands, and manufacturing solutions, please visit airpower-usa.com. If you have any questions or need product support, please contact Air Power at 1-800-334-1001.